And we're going to talk about venture philanthropy. It's a term you probably haven't heard before, but it really refers to bridging the divide between research and commercialisation. It's a difficult thing to be done, especially somewhere like Perth, where we don't have access necessarily to the funding that we need to get some of these inventions off the ground. And yes, there are a lot of people with a lot of money in Western Australia, but they're used to investing it in mining and mining tech rather than in things like perhaps medtech. On the line I've got Liz Dallimore. Liz is the CEO and Managing Director of Argenica Therapeutics. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Sean. Thanks so much for having me on.
No problems. Now, I know that you have been involved in this area for a long time, and it's something, certainly bridging that gap between idea, invention and commercialisation is something that you've done yourself. Can you tell us what the problems are with doing that in WA at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think, like you sort of said in your intro, probably a lot of people don't actually know what we mean by venture philanthropy. So if I sort of break it down in terms of, venture capital is really about making money. So people are sort of happy to invest in things that are less risky, I guess. And then philanthropy, which we have a lot of amazing philanthropic donors in WA, is really about giving money. So what happens generally in medical research and actually pushing medical research further down into translating it into patient outcomes is that you have a lot of amazing philanthropy at the very early stage, so donating money to research institutes, to universities, so they can undertake that sort of discovery work. But to actually get, say, like a drug or a medical device into patients, it's actually quite an expensive and lengthy process, and often it's companies and small sort of biotech companies, like a couple of the companies I run, where we're having to spend big dollars to actually undertake the clinical trials. Yet, so it doesn't sort of lend itself to philanthropy, but it's still quite risky in that we're still doing a lot of that R&D, to work out if these drugs, if these devices are actually going to work. So there's this big sort of shortfall, this big gap, which I guess in the industry is known as a bit of the valley of death, where you have these amazing discoveries, amazing research coming out of universities, and then a lack of capital of people actually wanting to put money into more high-risk type of endeavours, which could have huge potential patient impacts and then a potential huge return as well on the back of that.
So why is it, do you think, we have that shortfall? I mean, as I said off the top, we have no shortage of wealthy people in Western Australia, and some of those, certainly the likes of Andrew Forrest with his Tatarang vehicle, the likes of Gina Reinhardt, who's a well-known donor to many organisations around the city. They've got money, they don't mind donating / spending it. Why is it we can't find enough venture philanthropy around to get some of these great ideas off the ground?
Yeah, so I think, and having spoken to, I guess, a lot of the investment directors in a lot of these wealthy individuals, sort of investment houses, I think largely there is an appetite to sort of support medical research, and like I said, they do so amazingly sort of in philanthropic ways. But if they put their investment hat on, I guess there's a lack of understanding of what a good, I guess, investment into medical research looks like. So they're very comfortable investing in high-risk, mining exploration projects because they understand the geology side of things. So I do think it's probably just a lack of understanding and potentially that education piece and just a lack of familiarity with what a good investment in the sector looks like. So I think there's some work to do there around, I guess looking at comparables between a junior explorer and a junior biotech company and then breaking down some of those, what are those things that they need to look for that makes a good investment. So, and whether that, I think about this often, Sean, around, how we can change the mindset of these people. And, maybe it's something more like a fund where they can actually put some money in and get capability within that fund to actually make those investment decisions so that, you're still putting your investment hat on, but doing it, with that sort of social impact philanthropy type of lens to it as well.
And we do have some of those funds around now, don't we? I mean, we've got the RAC Better Labs Fund. We've got a growing number of funds in Western Australia, which is a first. It's taken a long time, really, to get funds off the ground in Western Australia. Does it just take someone to decide, hey, I'm going to create a philanthropic type fund?
Yeah, and I think, I guess looking at what Andrew Forrest has done with his healthcare fund, so specifically looking at investment into, and some of these earlier stage, they do sort of invest in later stage, but that's a fantastic start. That's a $250 million fund.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're looking broader than just WA. So I think, having, WA money that's made in WA back into WA companies would be fantastic as a bit of an investment mandate as well. And like you say, Better Labs, which is great, they just don't invest in biotech, unfortunately, so they do some other amazing investments. But yeah, I think we're starting to get a bit of a groundswell around some of these, setting up some of these funds, and I know, the Chamber of Commerce WA is sort of pushing the WA government around potentially setting up a venture capital fund as well. And it all, I think it's really great for WA to start building these other industries as well. So, mining has done amazingly well for the state, but, what else are we actually really good at? And what we're really good at in WA is medical research. So we've got some of the world's best medical research institutes here and best universities. So how do we now build an industry around actually commercialising these discoveries and keeping some of these biotech companies in WA?
Tell us about some of those discoveries, because the one that I think everyone knows about is spray on skin, but we've done some amazing stuff in Western Australia, and one that comes to my mind which is somewhat biotech connected is New Hero, which are actually was supposed to be headphones, noise cancelling earphones, but has become a de facto hearing aid for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some amazing discoveries. The problem is a lot of them do actually end up offshore. So, one that comes to mind is the work that Sue Fletcher and Steve Wilton did at the Perrin Neuroscience Research Institute. So the first ever approved drug for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. To get capital in to run those trials, Sue and Steve actually had to go offshore to the US, and now that is owned by a US company that I think they're worth about $8 billion now. An amazing WA invention that has unfortunately gone offshore to get the capital to actually run the clinical trials offshore. So that's a great example of, amazing technology that is saving the lives of these young boys with a rare neurological condition that is having a huge success, but unfortunately that success now fits within the US. But other amazing, we've got some incredible startup companies like Oncorez. We've got a listed company, Orthocell, which is doing amazing things, and then a couple of the companies I run. So Argenica Therapeutics has a drug for stroke, which we're just about to start clinical trials to administer that drug into stroke patients after a decade of work that we've put into that. So, that drug has come out of the Perrin Institute and the University of Western Australia, and our hope is that we can, keep as much of that commercialisation work here in Western Australia for as long as possible.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a sad history in venture capitalism in Western Australia. I'm sure listeners are aware of the juggernaut, the international juggernaut that is Canva, that unfortunately had to go to Sydney and then to the US to get funded, and the Perth-born and bred owners, Melanie Perkins and Cliff Obrecht, are now worth more money than I'll ever see in my life. So there are some opportunities there. And I've got Chrissy Morrissey has just wandered into the studio. Now, I hope I'm not letting anything out of the bag here, Chrissy, but I believe you actually have an upcoming TV program on just this issue.
We do, and Liz and I know each other really well. Hi, Liz. How are you going?
Hi, good, Chrissy.
Yeah, Liz, I spent a lot of my time travelling around Australia hosting big investment conferences, and a lot of them are looking at biotech and technical innovation, etc., and some big mining ones too. But we made this realisation that there is so much great tech that Australia is presenting to the world, and particularly Western Australia. So Coming up in March this year, we are launching a program with Guru Productions is the production house who brings Destination WA, Delish and all those ones to us. And it is focusing well and truly on innovation. And season number 1 is 6 shows. It was supposed to be going for half an hour. The 9 executives loved it so much they're saying we would like it for an hour. And we're just going, oh my goodness me. But you know what? We have got so much amazing innovation in Western Australia. It's not an issue. 72 companies in the first season, and we have companies, innovators lining up to be part of it. So if you're an innovation company, you're based in Western Australia, you'd like to be part of Innovation Nation, we would love to have you on board. But you were talking about New Hera.
Yeah.
I heard about New Hera a couple of years ago at a conference I was hosting down in Busselton. Run by Vertical Events, and coincidentally, the week before I had hosted the National Dementia Conference, which was here in WA, and one of the big platforms was untreated early onset hearing loss is one of the big markers, big ticks. Hello, watch out, you're more likely to get early onset dementia. And New Hera has produced these earbuds, which are in the top 200 inventions in the world, according to Time magazine a couple of years ago, for $500. They do what my $9,000 hearing aids do. I have hearing aids, everyone, but it's just things that happen. And so for $500, I can wear these little things.
So the New Hera is as good for you as your hearing aid is?
As good for my hearing aids. They're not quite as discreet, but for a guy like yourself, and the problem is a lot of guys, like, we don't want to be seen wearing a hearing aid, blah, blah, blah. Really? I said, well, mate, I'd rather be able to hear the bus before I stepped in front of it. You know, there's things like that. And I like, please, get the instructions right. And my hearing aids are actually Bluetoothed, and they do all these other amazing things. But this product now it's actually went to America. I think it was, Liz, was it December last year? They got approval to be sold in America as a therapeutic product. Yep. So they get rebates through their medical system. Yeah, so they're the sort of innovations we'll be bringing to people, watching Channel 9 and listening here at 6PR.
Why are we so innovative, Liz? Is it that entrepreneurial spirit, that fact that we're so far away from everyone else that we actually have to come up with things ourselves?
I think so. I think that sort of tyranny of distance definitely plays a factor. And I think about, when I was a researcher in the lab, I think what WA actually does really well is collaborates really well. So we're very good at sort of sharing ideas and working together because we kind of have to, because we are on our own. We're so far away. So if we don't work together, then it makes it a lot more difficult. And when you start to collaborate, you have that sort of diversity of thinking. That's when the innovation sort of happens. So I think that definitely plays a good part. But we do punch above our weight, and I think, Chrissy, it's fantastic to hear that you've got that program, because I think we need to shine a light on it.
So Chrissy has just left it. She left us. She has a show to prepare. But Liz Dallimore, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Sean.
This is